That's our Halloween music for October 27th. And we're coming to you with a special Facebook update, global travel update from Vienna, from the Hotel Imperial, an iconic hotel that I've been coming to for more than 30 years. Notice the Halloween decorations behind me. They've really gone all out. We're coming to you from one of their iconic ballrooms. And just to show you the high ceilings, watch this. Yeah, we're not messing around. There we go. Now we're back. So, of course, if you got some questions, send them in. You know how to do that. You can always email me to peter@petergreenberg.com with your name, phone number, question, or problem with your answer today, or we'll do it on the radio show coming up this Saturday. Lots of stuff to talk about in the news. The pilot situation at both Southwest and Americans is still a little dicey in terms of the vaccine mandates. That's a problem we're going to continue to report on. And we're also going to report on what's going on with the TSA. Remember, it's all leading up to November 24th. Something tells me the economic consequences here are so powerful that this will somehow get resolved. But then again, if the airlines back down from this, does that mean that the federal government's going to cancel their contracts, which means they're not going to be flying the U.S. mail? It's a double-edged sword here. Nobody wins, and we will stay tuned on that. Airfares continue to go up 3 to 5% every single day. A lot of that's because of the folks here. That's right, the Europeans who are now flying to America starting November 8th. First time they've been able to do that in more than 18 months. And that's really hitting the demand curve in ways that nobody really expected. But that means also that all the flights are going to be full within the US and again, from the US. So think about that. As you saw last night when we came from Dublin, there are still great airfare bargains. There's still $359 round trip tickets to Ireland from the US, unheard of. So grab those if you can. We'll have more updates on airfares next week when we do another Facebook Live update from another foreign destination, which I'm not going to tell you about. We'll go that later. But let's talk about Vienna. I have been coming to Vienna, as I said, for over 35 years. I've been coming to this hotel almost that long. It is an amazing experience. It's one of those cities where you walk 3 feet and you're just mired in architecture and history and stories. Or you go out to the Shogun Palace, which I encourage you to do, not just to see the architecture there, which is phenomenal, but to see how people really lived back then. And some of the engineering marvels that we take for granted today, which actually started back then. You go to all these individual rooms of the palace, and let's say they're set up in a quad of 4. If you look in the corner at the bottom of each room, you'll see an air vent. That's right, they figured out how to put a furnace to fuel 4 rooms in the winter and heat it. And it was ingenious at the time. But then you look up and you see all the oil portraits of royalty. But they're all done when these royals were like 14 years old. And you have to ask yourself, why did they only pose then? It's because they died after that. The lifespan of the royals and everybody else in those days was not big. So if they called you to get your portrait when you're age 14, you knew the clock was ticking. But another story about that too. Anyway, here we are in the music capital of the world. Everything happened here. Everything still happens here. Not far from me is the Opera House. And I will be the first to tell you, I'm not the biggest fan of opera, but I'm a huge fan of the opera in Vienna. And every year, usually in February, they have the opera ball. And a couple of years ago, I actually had a chance to go. And when you say I had a chance to go, you have to go the right way, you have to dress the right way, and you have to know somebody who knows somebody. And I got a ticket to go. You dress up in white tie and tails. You show up in a horse-drawn carriage. I was the only one there that night who was not a count or a prince, so I had no sash. I had everything else. And then they introduced the debutantes, and they dance a very gentle minuet. And then the dance floor is taken over by the orchestra that plays a waltz. Now, if you're like me and you grew up in the 50s and the 60s, you understood what you thought was a waltz. It was bum, 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 bum. Not here. When they play the waltz here, you better be heavily insured because it's bum, 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 and they're whipping around. It's the Indianapolis 500 on the floor. And it was everything I could do to survive. But what a great experience it was. If you ever have a chance, even if it's not in February for the Opera Ball, there are many other balls that they have here during the year. Come over here and go to it, and at least go to a performance. It's absolutely worth your while. And of course, after the performance, nobody goes to bed, especially not after the Opera Ball. I mean, the Opera Ball doesn't end until 2 or 3 in the morning, and then everybody's going out to the coffee houses, where the 2 most dangerous words used in Vienna are Mitschlag. That's right. You're going to gain 20 pounds just with every coffee you drink. That's right. It's served with a lot of cream, Mitschlag. All right, so much for that. Before we get into your comments and notes and answer your questions, I promised you a surprise guest. And remember, we're the music capital of the world. So I've asked a wonderful, talented violinist, Alexei Uzgudisman, who's from Russia, St. Petersburg, or for the old school folks, Leningrad. And he's also a composer. And the first tune I'm going to ask him to play is something that you might know about, right? The Blue Danube, except we know these days it's not exactly blue. However, there is the Blue Danube Waltz. Alexei, and I'll turn this up so you can see it. There you go. Whoa, fasten your seatbelts, hold on tight. I said the waltz hasn't been played like that since I was never. This is what waltz is like in Vienna. Alexei, thank you much.
Thank you so much.
And he's coming back, by the way. He's definitely coming back. Wow. Remember, the waltz is not boom, 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 boom. That's the proof positive of that. A couple of other things before we get to your comments and questions. Here's the question for you today. Can a basic economy ticket make you sick? And the answer is, you bet. And I'll tell you why. And the same thing goes back to the old days of the norovirus on cruise ships. How do those things happen? I had a theory about that then. I'm sticking to it. And I have the same theory about getting sick on a basic economy ticket now. Why? Let's talk about the refund policies, the traditional refund policies on cruise ships, right? If you're within 30 days of the cruise, it's in almost every cruise ship contract, you get no money back. You lose your money, right? Well, how many people confronted with that who are already sick, this goes back pre-pandemic, decided I'm taking the cruise anyway because I don't want to lose my money, and then they went immediately to the salad bar. Da-da, okay. Now let's jump ahead. When the airlines last year announced, which we all heralded and supported, that they were getting rid of those draconian ticket change fees, many of them made one exception: basic economy tickets. Use it or lose it. So now we have the same issue. Someone who's not feeling well, COVID or non-COVID, temperature or non-temperature, flu or no flu, who doesn't want to lose their money is going to get on that flight anyway. There's something wrong about this. And the airlines need to come up with a program where people who are legitimately not feeling well don't have to get on the plane. And I think everybody would agree with that. So there's that. Then, remember we talked about Southwest Airlines canceling flights? And remember we talked about the crazy fare structures that are out there now? Well, I'm over here in Vienna. For those people who want to go to London, and you can go now, here's the problem. And the folks in the United Kingdom don't tell you this. It's one thing to go there, but to come back, they hit you with a huge tax. Anybody flying from an airport in the United Kingdom gets hit hard. And those taxes can be as high as $800 a ticket. So my advice to anybody who wants to go to London, and I'm going, you want to go, is here's how you fly it. You buy an open jaw ticket. What does that mean? You're flying to one city, from one city, and coming back to that same city, but from another city, right? An open jaw ticket. So you're not completing that top. Here's how you do it. An example, New York to London. Then instead of flying London back to New York, take the Eurostar to Paris. Have a nice dinner, stay at a hotel, fly home from Paris. You'll save money on the taxes you didn't have to pay. Even with the cost of the hotel room and a meal in Paris, you'll probably be better off. And at least you know where your money went towards your enjoyment. All right, so there's that one. Now, if you want to see how crazy the ticket taxes are, our good friend Arnie Weissman just bought a ticket to go to Nice. And I'm going to ask Anthony back in Los Angeles to post this graphic. This was his ticket. Can you read it? Okay, look at the ticket price, $80. Pretty good from New York to Nice, right? JFK to Nice. Did you see the figure under it? Taxes, $541. Is there something wrong with this? You wonder why airlines go out of business? No airline can make any money on an $80 ticket to Nice. So where does that other money go to? To pay for what? Now, I see this happen time and time again. Now, the low fare carriers have figured a way around it, and that's changed their entire business model. It is their business model, which explains how they make more money. They charge you $2 for the ticket, right? Because airline tickets are charged at a very high federal excise tax basis. So they charge you almost nothing for the ticket, and they charge you $100 for each bag, which are just basically taxed at a state sales tax fee. Therefore, they're making more money on the bags than they're making on the ticket. It's absurd. It's completely upended. It's disruptive. But when you see this fare that Arnie sent me, and by the way, not made up, it's real. It just happened 3 days ago. Now, here's the wildest one, and a reason why you should never book tickets online. Our cameraman, Peter Krajewski, was going from Los Angeles to San Francisco on Southwest Airlines last Saturday to meet me for a shoot that we're doing for one of my PBS shows. I was flying American Airlines from Los Angeles to San Francisco. My one-way fare was $98.40. He bought a ticket because he liked Southwest. He bought a ticket on Southwest, but it was a round-trip ticket that came in about $143 round trip. Reasonable fare. One small problem. At about 3 in the morning, about 4 hours before he was going to get on his early morning flight to go to San Francisco, as I was getting on mine to go on American, Southwest canceled his flight. And the only way he could get there, at least on Southwest, was to redo the ticket and go Los Angeles, Oakland, back to LA, which really upended everything because he had to Uber things and he was late for the show, all those things. Well, I texted him when I saw the news and I said, no, Peter, don't do that. Get on my flight, on my American Airlines flight. I know there's space available. Who's flying on a Saturday morning at 6 a.m. anyway? And we'll go up together. So what did Peter do? He did what you did, always. He went online to see if he could book it. Now, guys, let's put this in perspective. The actual airtime between Los Angeles and San Francisco in the air is 38 minutes, right? My fare was $98.40 on this American Airlines flight from Los Angeles to San Francisco. At 3 o'clock in the morning, when Peter went online to see if he could get a ticket on the flight, which by the way, he could, this is the price they quoted him online. Watch this. No typos here, guys. This is beyond belief. $1,624 for a 38-minute flight on American Airlines from LAX to San Francisco. What kind of caviar were they serving on my flight? Apparently not. So there's a moral to this story. What do you do if your flight cancels? Well, if you're on a Southwest Airlines ticket, you can only fly Southwest on that ticket. You can't interchange it or interline it for another airline. They don't have those agreements. But if you just go online to see what's available, look what kicks in within 4 hours. I guarantee you that had he gone on the phone and talked to an American Airlines agent on the phone, it might have been $160, not $1,624. Now, what kind of yokel, and I'm not talking to Peter because he didn't do that, but what kind of yokel would buy that ticket? Somebody does, and hopefully it's not you. But the lesson here, and it's an important one, is that if your flight cancels and you got to rebook right away, even if it's on another airline, pick up the phone, especially if you're within 12 hours of departure, because the algorithms on some of these websites will kick in and default to a ridiculous fare because they know how desperate you must be. But nobody, I don't think, is that desperate to spend over $1,600 for a flight from Los Angeles to San Francisco. But somebody had the balls to put it up there, and that's what we saw online. So I just wanted to share that with you. One more thing that we talked about yesterday and last week, it's come back up again, and that's this. How many hotels are using the pandemic to eliminate basic services and still charging the same rates? We talked about housekeeping. Well, there's another one now, the hotel breakfast. There are so many mid-level hotel chains that if you're a member of their frequent stay program or you're paying a little bit higher rate, they include breakfast in the rate. And we've come to expect it. How many hotels are actually serving breakfast these days? Hardly any. And yet they're still charging the breakfast rate that's included. Something wrong there. Time to deconstruct that and have a little conversation with the hotel general manager. They're either offering breakfast at that rate or they're showing you a lower rate. Everything is negotiable now. By the way, if you want to have the breakfast and they're offering the breakfast and you want to pay the rate, eat up. But somebody's not playing straight here, and they can't have it both ways. Do your homework, and in all cases, it gets down to what? Have a conversation. Speaking of that conversation, let me start scrolling up and talking to you guys. Sanjay saying hello. Patrick Cooney saying hi. Jews again, hello from Japan. Joy says, what will be the best month with the best airline prices to go to Athens, Greece in 2022? Well, May works, but my favorite month in Greece is September. That is the magic month in the Mediterranean. And you can plan ahead. Don't buy the tickets now. You're way too early, but that's what you want to do. Hi from the villages from Linda, Narden. Drew says, I want to travel to 4 countries in Europe with Eurorail. Do I need a PCR test for each country when I arrive? The answer is, if they're members of the European Union, the answer is no, you don't. Here's what you do need. Proof of vaccination. And the Eurorail pass, I remember it from my college days. It's still the best thing that happened since sliced bread if you use it correctly. Remember, you can't buy it once you get to here. You can't buy it in Vienna. You got to buy it in the US in conjunction with your round trip European ticket, right? And when I bought it, when I was in college, there were so many railroads that were either privately owned or state run that didn't even participate in the program. Now they must have added 50 of them. And you can get anywhere you want to go now. Don't have to buy a first class pass, buy a second class pass. They sell them in increments of 1 week, 2 weeks, or a month. It's the best deal. It really is. And if you plan it right, you're going to save on hotel rooms because you can take the night trains. Okay, not every night, right? Nobody wants to be a hobo, but you know what I'm saying. All right, James says hi from Evanston, Illinois. Zach is saying hello from Texas. Craig is saying something we all know, that he loves Vienna. What's not to love? It's great. All right, good morning from Newport Beach. That's Craig. Joy is saying, you spoke about SATH program. How do I find more about it? That stands for Society for Accessible Travel and Hospitality. They have a website. I believe it's sath.org. And if you can't find it, let me know. Very good resource of information. Oh, this is funny. Linda McCartney Norton says, Vienna, the original Grand Ole Opry. Well, I suppose so. All right. Hello from New Hampshire. Lorraine, sorry to bug again. Wonder if you ever spoke with the official from Clear. Will they be extending their staff hours for red-eye flights? I am speaking to the official from Clear next Thursday. In fact, she's going to be a guest on my radio show. So check it out. Very soon, we'll let you know when it's going to air, and we're going to ask her that question. Okay. All right. Helen liked the live music update. All right, Alexi, you got a fan here. Hold on a second. He's coming back, but not now. Hold on. Sit down, Alexi. We got you coming. Don't worry. He's ready to play. He's so ready to play. All right. Lorraine says, bravo, Alexi. Bravo. Incredible, says Tammy. Okay. And Robin, you love the countdown. So I'm going to share it with us, everybody else. It says, okay, listen, 24 hours for our 30th Hawaiian anniversary trip, and hello from Williamsburg, Virginia. Okay, happy anniversary, Robin. And I hope you make the flight and have a great time in Hawaii. Drew wants to know, is the Shogun Palace crowded with tourists now? It's not. This is not a time it's crowded with tourists. You go midweek, and remember what I told you about what to look for there. And we've discovered, here's a little secret, there's a place there you can actually stay in the palace. But we'll talk about that in an upcoming show. Hello from Split in Croatia. And let's see, I'm going to scroll up here. Hold on a second. More things just came in. All right, greetings from the Canary Islands. That's right. Oh, it's Gotti. Part of our team. We're doing a 1-hour special called Hidden Canary Islands. We're going to see Gotti next month. That'll be on PBS, Amazon Prime, and Apple. Remember, we have our other shows already on the air now, Hidden Poland and Hidden Turkey. Check your PBS listings, and if you can't find it there, and they do multiple rebroadcasts, just go right over to Amazon Prime, and you can watch it. Okay. Sharon wants to know, what about Hawaiian Airlines? Do they ever cancel? Here's a little known fact about Hawaiian Airlines, which surprises me, but it's happened year after year. Guess which airline in the United States is the most on-time airline? It's Hawaiian. I still don't understand how they do it, but they win it every year. John says hello from Illinois. Happy autumn from Jolene. Jeannie says, I asked this yesterday, but I was a little late getting in. What are your favorite places to travel in January? Well, listen, I'm a huge Southern Hemisphere guy. That's South Africa. That's South America. That's all the way down even to Ushuaia in Argentina. And you heard me mention the name of this one restaurant a couple of weeks ago. Somebody asked me again the other day. It's called Kaupe in Ushuaia. Well worth the visit. It's a long haul, but it's a great dinner. And of course, that's the jumping off spot for Antarctica. Okay, my old pal Ramey Warren from The Home Show. Does anybody remember The Home Show? Gary Collins, Sarah Purcell. Ramey and I worked on that show together with Will Schreiner and so many other great people. And we need to do a reunion, by the way, Ramey. We should put that together. Okay, let's go back up here. Hold on a second. Heather says, I'm going to Gdańsk in Poland, August of 2022. How would you get there by air? With so many options, we have to connect someplace. Well, this is an easy one. Fly LOT, the Polish airline. They do a great job. They're flying brand new equipment, and you can fly either to Warsaw or Krakow. Not a problem, okay? And they're part of the Star Alliance, so you'll get mileage on United. Okay. Madeline says, there have been some crime incidents in Tulum. Do you think it's safe to travel there? Madeline, there have been some crime incidents in Cleveland, and it's safe to travel there too, right? It gets down to common sense. So if there's a purse snatching in Tulum, it's not going to stop me from going, right? And I'm not being cavalier about this. If you want to specify the crime incidents, if there's like a raging murder spree in Tulum, then we have something to talk about. But if there's, the usual pickpockets or purse snatchings, you know what? Travel in numbers, you'll be fine, and you'll have a great time. Elizabeth says, did you find out how to purchase the OAG manuals? Of course I found out how to purchase it. I've been purchasing it for years. The OAG, just go to OAG.com, and they'll tell you how to do it. But remember, don't do the one online. Actually subscribe to the physical books, right, for the states or the countries you want to go to. Does the Europass work for Switzerland? Funny you should mention that. When I bought my first Europass, the answer was no. Now, it's a qualified yes. You have to check the route and the rail line, okay? But they're getting better. Julie says, what are my favorite Greek islands that aren't overrun in September? Also, where besides Athens on the mainland would you recommend visiting? Well, let's start with the first question. I'm a huge fan of Milos, M-I-L-O-S. Beautiful, small fishing village, not overrun with anybody, just with fishermen, but it's great. That's one of them. And again, September, the magic month. You say, besides Athens on the mainland, would you recommend visiting? Well, look, the mainland is a difficult one in Athens, but if you take Athens as a hub and go just 40 miles, you're going to find so many great little communities, and some of them, of course, on the water. You won't go wrong. Now, I'm not going to dump on Mykonos, and I'm not going to dump on Santorini. I take that back. I am going to dump on Santorini. It's overcrowded. They haven't figured it out yet. They need to work on that. I was on the Silver Sea Silver Moon on one of its inaugural cruises last summer, and when we got to Santorini, I would not leave the ship. It was horrendous, right? You want to go to Santorini? November, you'll own it. Okay, let's keep going here. Geraldine says, basic economy versus economy fare. Is it worth it? The way they structure basic economy is if you are a fugitive from justice or in the witness relocation program, which presumes you have no bags and you're running from somebody, take basic economy because you're traveling light, right? But other than that, if you have a bag, if you want to check, select your seat, if you want to, if you want mileage points that are reasonable for that, basic economy is not your best friend. And if you look at the fare differential between basic economy and economy, in many cases, it's only like $30. That $30 is your insurance policy. Why? Because if you can't make the flight, you don't lose the ticket, right? It's not a use it, lose it deal. With a regular economy ticket, you'll get that money back into your fund at the airline to use again, right? They can't do those ticket change fees on regular economy tickets. Okay, Sharon said, I thought it was Qantas for on time. No, Sharon. Qantas was, no, here's the difference. You want on-time performance or you want never had a crash. For never had a crash, it's sort of like the Roger Maris 61 with an asterisk, right? Qantas gets an asterisk because they've never had a fatality, but they've had a crash. I remember that crash very well. It was a very rainy, windy night, and the Qantas flight from Australia was on a final approach to Bangkok, and the pilots were not really well behaved. They had either their wives or their girlfriends in the cockpit. That is a definite no-no up there for the landing. And somebody got distracted. They landed long on a very wet runway, skidded off the end of the runway, and ended up in a golf course, the plane essentially destroyed. However, Qantas prides itself on never having lost an aircraft. So when Lloyd's of London, the insurer, came back and took a look at the records and said, this is a total write-off, we're going to give you a check, Qantas said, no, it's not, we want to rebuild it. And then Lloyd's of London said, you're on your own, go rebuild it. But we're not paying for that. So what did Qantas do? They called the Boeing AOG team. That stands for Aircraft on the Ground. It's an unbelievable group of about 90 engineers and metallurgists and designers. Always keep a suitcase in the trunk of their car, because anytime a Boeing airplane is somewhere in the world broken and not flyable, they fly in, set up their workshop right at the scene of the accident, and sometimes it can take 9 months to fix it. But they actually rebuilt that 747, and it's flying today. So there you have it. So Qantas still has the official safety deal, but it doesn't have the on-time performance deal. Okay? Jolene says, I love the home show, never missed an episode. We had fun doing the home show. And Randy says, indeed, we did have fun. Okay. All right. Oh, Madeline says the crime spree in Tulum is gang related. If it's gang related, let me put that in perspective. It's one gang fighting another gang, not you. For those people who've seen these numbers, and I have to tell you, They are pretty scary numbers about how many people have been killed in Mexico in drug war violence. It's over 70,000. How many visiting Americans have been killed because of that? Are you ready? About 9. But of those 9, I think 8 of them were vacationing American drug dealers. You get my point? Gangs are not targeting you. They're targeting other gangs. That's not our issue. Vaya con Dios. Have a nice vacation. Okay. Okay. Oh, Jack says, good morning from Indianapolis. I have a great Indianapolis story. I'm going to share it with you. A couple of years ago, I was doing a piece for NBC on Indianapolis, and they wanted me to see the Speedway. I wanted to see the Speedway. When I got there, they said, we have a surprise for you. We found a 2-seater Indy car, and we have an amazing driver who's going to take you around the track at about 185 miles an hour. Do you want to go? I said, absolutely. Our camera crew mounted the cameras in the car. We had cameras on the rail. I suited up in my suit, and they wedged me in. I weighed more then. And who's my driver? The legendary Al Unser Jr. Pretty cool, right? So here we go. We're zipping around the track. We're hugging that rail, maybe 6 inches off the rail at 185 miles an hour. I'm like screaming. We finally come to a halt. I survive. They take photos. We do the handshake. And I say goodbye to them and thank them. I get back on a plane. I go back to LA. And I used to get the New York Times delivered to my house at about 12:30 at night, because the early edition was at that point 3:30 in the morning in New York, and they would deliver it. It was 12:30 at night. I just gotten off the plane from Indianapolis, and I hear the thud of the newspaper at my front door. I open the door. I open the newspaper. I figure I might as well read tomorrow's news tonight. And what's the headline on the sports page? Al Unser Jr. arrested for DUI. So I'm one lucky guy. All right, back to some more questions. Joan wants to know, do I have a favorite river cruise destination? We have done the Rhine from Basel to Amsterdam. Well, guess where I am right now? In Vienna. So where can you go? Vienna to Budapest. Of course, the Danube isn't blue, but it's well worth the trip. My other great trip was down the Loire, and also the Rhone. So lots of things to do. And then, of course, depending on tides, the Amazon. Different kind of river cruise, but amazing. Okay. Here's one from Diana. Said, hello from Roseville, California. We had port stops canceled in Israel. What's going on there? What's not going on there? If they determine there's a safety issue, sometimes it even be a union issue. But remember, in every cruise ship contract, there's a clause saying that the cruise line has the right to substitute ports or cancel ports due to conditions not under its control. So be aware of that. But we'll try to find out what happened. Okay, Mei Ling Moore. Good morning, Mei Ling. Hey, Lorena says, I'm on Mackinac Island this week. Missed you, and I had a package of Biscoff cookies, which my husband is now enjoying. Lorena, those cookies were for me. I'm angry at you. No. By the way, you're on the last weekend here in Mackinac. They close it. Island shuts down on, guess what? Halloween, October 31st, last ferry. So be sure to leave the island too. And thank you for the Biscoff cookie recommendation. I want you to know I've got some more emails since our last talk. Other passengers are reporting they're now getting the packet of 2 back. So progress is being made. Maybe we had an impact. I don't know. Okay, now let's go to some of the questions you've got. I'm going to do this right now. You set some questions in today. I'm waiting for it to come back up because it's not scrolling up. Hold on. It's taking its time. It's supposed to not do that, but it did. Here we go. Here we go. I'm finding it. Maybe I'm not. Hold on. Here we go. Okay. I lied. I'm still waiting. I'm trying to find it. I will find it under this. Here we go. Here it is. No, it's not. I can't find it. But I will answer it online, I promise you. Okay? Now, I promised you another performance by Alexei. Alexei, please come over, because Alexei knows that Beethoven, even though he was German, made Vienna his home. And Alexei is also a composer. So a different take on Beethoven's Fifth. Alexei Igudizman. Whoa. All right. Nicely done, man. Nicely done. Wow. Alexei Igudizman. Great performance, and you've never heard Beethoven's Fifth quite like that. All right, let's go to a couple more questions here before I've got to run. Now Helen's asking, can we do live music with every Facebook Live update? The answer is no. We're in Vienna. That's why we're doing it, and we'll try to do it again. Remember, we had mariachis in Mexico. We did. We'll come up with some more. Don't worry. I promise you. It's why not, right? Okay. Okay. Let's see how we got here. Oh, okay. A lot of people enjoying that Indianapolis 500 story. I lived to tell the story. All right. Someone's just saying, I just finished up a Mexican Riviera cruise on the Carnival Panorama. Excellent safety protocols, and I'm ready for more cruises. Okay, I'm happy to hear that. All right, Bill says, we traveled to the UK twice in the past few weeks. Their new automated immigration system was up and running. No lines at all. We were through immigration within 1 minute. The longest wait was for our bags at Terminal 5. I'm so happy to hear that, because I'm heading to London very soon. The last time I was there, as you know, I reported those 4.5-hour waits just to go through passport control. Wow, 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 wow. All right. They're loving you, Alexei. They are. Okay. And Geraldine's son loves you. Geraldine loves you. Juice from Tokyo says she loves you. Joan Haas is saying, Alexei. All right. Condrel, my goodness. Condrel, nice to see you. My good friend from Botswana is on board. Nice to see you, man. Bravo from Dowling. Mia saying, simply wow. Mei Ling, my old buddy, says, he's great. You're great. There you go. All right. So look, a lot of stuff on the music. Maybe we'll have to do it every week. I don't know. I'll see if Alexei can travel. I get the thumbs up. All right. We'll try to get him a cheap ticket. In the meantime, guys, we will see you next week from another foreign location. We're traveling all the way through this week and next week and the week after. So you'll see me next week. It'll be at our regular time, I believe, on Thursday, a week from tomorrow. If it changes, we'll let you know. Just check our Facebook page and our website as well. Again, our website, petergreenberg.com. If I didn't answer your question today, just email me again, peter@petergreenberg.com. The radio show coming up in 3 days. From where? You'll have to check. I'm not going to tell you now. If you were listening yesterday, you heard. And of course, I will see you on TV. So have a great rest of the week, guys. See you on the radio. See you on TV. And Alexei, again, thank you so much. We'll post his website and where you can find him when you're in Vienna, because he's well worth the listen, as you can now attest. Again, everybody, have a great rest of the week. I'll see you next week.